This video is going to be on the 5 silent killers that are destroying your Google Ads performance. And this applies to anyone at any spend levels, but the issues I'm going to run through in this video cause two things. They prevent people's ability to scale as much as possible, but they also result in an abundance of wasted ad spend. And when you're spending considerably on Google, so if you're spending, 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K a month on Google, these issues are amplified. They do result in wasted ad spend. And based on your spend levels, that could be a considerable amount of money if you are spending considerably. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through these issues and how to identify these issues no matter your proficiency level when it comes to Google Ads. You'll basically identify in this video how to diagnose and fix each one of these. And we'll have practical and actionable solutions for each one of these specific issues so you can actually solve these today. Get stuck into the first one here, which is called the automation trap. So this is basically just a lazy setup. If you're very heavy reliant on automated setups and performance max campaigns, you're very much reliant on bottom of funnel conversions. And what can happen with this setup is Google becomes very reliant on other channels performing in order to perform because you're using automated setups which have inbuilt retargeting, which essentially means that, Google is piggybacking off of the performance of Meta. So it's basically retargeting your web traffic from those other sources and then taking credit for those conversions. So I've written some of the details here, but that's essentially the crux of it. And what can happen is instead of actually building a foundation of new customer demand, you quickly hit diminishing returns because your Google channel or Google as a channel to you is very much reliant on other channels working in order to work. And that's because some of these campaign setups have inbuilt retargeting. And therefore, if you're bringing in traffic from Meta, Google's going to retarget that traffic and claim credit for the attribution of those conversions. So I've got a little illustration here, which is based a PMax Pac-Man, and it's just eating the meta traffic, organic traffic, and affiliate traffic. And this can be detrimental to accounts at any spend level. Typically with these setups is we see a steady downward trend of return on ad spend, or we see a massive cliff when it comes to increasing your spend level. So you might try to increase and you can't break past a certain barrier. You might get to a point where you're spending 80 to 100K a month, but you really can't spend much more than that. And oftentimes the reason is because of this particular setup. There is a fix. We maintain that 100% of the time that if you're running a performance max setup, that you should be running a hybrid approach. You should be running standard shopping campaigns and standard search campaigns alongside those. These campaigns will help supplement performance max with new customer demand and new customer acquisition and send high intent traffic to performance max. But also when you're just relying on performance max campaigns is when things go sideways, there's a high level of ambiguity on what's actually going wrong and how to fix it. But if you're running a more balanced strategy with standard shopping and standard search alongside, far greater clarity on what's going wrong because there's far greater visibility inside standard shopping and standard search campaigns. And therefore you can directly influence how to improve performance if there is a downward trend. It allows for far greater clarity on what's going wrong or what's working. This will also allow you to ensure that Google is not just piggybacking off the performance of other channels and actually turning Google into a primary channel that's not just supplementary to your Facebook campaigns or your TikTok campaigns or any other channel that you're running. The second biggest killer we see is that you've just got too many campaigns set up. And when it comes to Google Ads, in order for a campaign to be scalable, it needs 30 conversions a month at least. But if you've got too many conversions spread amongst too many campaigns, and you've got one campaign with 10 conversions, one campaign with 16, and one campaign with 18, each of those campaigns are not scalable. So you need to consolidate the products or the campaigns that you have in general in order to consolidate those conversions into a singular campaign, which will make that campaign far more scalable. If you're having a very segmented setup where you've got too many campaigns, no single campaign is getting enough conversion data to actually optimize and scale from. And the algorithm cannot really learn effectively with all this scattered data. So when you should actually segment, so you can screenshot this here. I'm not going to go into too much detail when it comes to segmenting by campaigns because I do have other videos on my channel where I walk through this in depth. But you want to have a good reason to segment your campaigns. So whether it's by goals, so if you've got different ROAS goals on different products, by location, Australia, Europe, US, New Zealand. Winners and losers, so sales volumes, seasonality, summer products, winter products, and then keyword intent, which is just basically top of funnel keywords, bottom of funnel keywords. Killer 3, the I don't look at details disease. And this is probably one of the most important ones. And I'm going to walk you through a specific example of this inside of an account. But I think one of the biggest mistakes people make, and I speak to founders all the time that kind of come to us with an issue where they've hit a sort of scale ceiling, and they can't increase performance, or even they've got poor performance within their campaigns. Oftentimes it comes down to product spend, and they're kind of just looking at the campaign high level view. They don't really know how to look at the product spend. And they're just going, this campaign's performing, this campaign's not performing, this campaign's not performing. But if you actually dig a little bit deeper, you'll figure out why those campaigns are not performing. What will happen is you have products with high ROAS but low spend. So these are kind of some opportunities to put more spend into and actually scale them a little bit further and see if they start to maintain that ROAS with high spend levels. You'll have your budget vampires, so products consuming significant budget with poor returns, and these need immediate attention. You either need to figure out why, or you need to exclude these particular products. So as you can see here, product 1 has spent $5,000, generated a ROAS of 5.14, and revenue of $26,000. Now, the return on ad spend goal of the client is 4. And so this one's well above goal. This is a real scaling opportunity, product number 1, right? And so that probably needs to be segmented out into its own campaign. Product number 2 is the real issue here. It spent $2,000, 1.39x return on ad spend, nowhere near the goal of 4x return on ad spend. It's only generated $3,000 of revenue, which is even less than this product that spent half of it. So ultimately, what we need to do is figure out why this product's not converting and perhaps exclude that product. So you just need to look at your product level spend, figure out the ones that are not converting, figure out why, and then you can start to exclude some of those products as well. Typically, we'll exclude them. We won't do, after we do some investigation, if you've got a 1.39x return on ad spend, your goal's 4 with a considerable amount of spend, like $2,000, typically no amount of investigation will make that perform at a 4x return on ad spend. And you should just focus spend on the best performing products. Now, I call this next part the invisible drain. So this is very similar to the product spend, but it's essentially keyword targeting. And so a lot of people are just not cognizant of the keywords that they're actually targeting and what they're spending on. And so therefore, they're showing up for these irrelevant search queries and they're bleeding budget on keywords that are not going to convert for them and that will never convert for them. And oftentimes by cleaning this up, you'll be able to just basically ultimately go from, breaking even or unprofitable with particular campaigns to being highly profitable with particular campaigns. And this often lies in the search terms that you're targeting. Now, this is a specific example I had with a client that approached us recently that sells furniture. They had search terms showing up that were how to clean a leather sofa. They just sell leather sofas. And so therefore, we need to exclude search terms like that. And we need to focus on search terms like leather sofa for living room, because someone that's searching leather sofa for living room has far greater buying intent than someone searching how to clean a leather sofa, particularly in this case. The solution to this, you just regularly need to check your insights tabs for the search terms that you're actually targeting. Just look a little deeper and see, okay, this campaign's not performing, but why? It's probably the keywords that we're targeting. It could be the products that we're targeting as well. Now, you can start to exclude some of these keywords that are not at your goal. Now, the solution to this is that you need to regularly check your insights tabs for the search terms that you're actually targeting, right? So if you've got campaigns that are underperforming, you need to go in there and figure out what keywords it's targeting in order to actually focus on the highest intent keywords, exclude the ones that are wasting spend. So another thing to do as well when you're trying to do this is you're probably thinking, but which keywords will convert? Just analyze whether someone's searching for those particular keywords that you see there is likely to buy your products. Okay. You will know based on what the products that you sell, if you're selling mushroom coffee and someone's typing in mushroom coffee, that they're probably a pretty good search term to spend on. But if they're typing in just, portobello mushrooms, which is a type of mushroom, they're probably not likely to buy from you. You need to create negative keyword lists or just exclude those keywords. Now, Killer 5. This is something that everyone talks about, and I'm not sure people understand how important it is and how much of a drastic impact that this can have on your performance. And if you're not sure what a product feed is, it's just essentially all the attributes that you send to Google to tell them what your products are. So essentially your product titles, your product images, your pricing, it just grabs all the data from your website, and that's called your product feed. Now, you can optimize your feed and you can make your feed quite detailed. And I call that the Google diet. Your product feed is your Google diet. If you feed it a better diet, it will perform better. And it has a drastic impact. Poor product titles brings in the wrong traffic. Not testing different images hurts performance. Missing shipping details reduces your conversion rates. No reviews means less trust and higher costs, and ignoring competitors means losing sales to them. That's a big one. You need to look at what your competitors do. Now, here's a specific example here, and the one that I actually clicked on was the second most expensive listing. So it was this one here, this Viscosa silk pillowcase. There's a couple reasons I clicked on this, and there's a couple reasons I use this as an example. Obviously, they have far more reviews than anyone else, but it is not the number one reason that I clicked on this. Now, They've also got free delivery here. So they could actually improve that. But free delivery here, when I'm looking at that ad, I know that there's no additional cost. The price that I'm seeing, $62.30, is exactly what I'm going to pay. I'm not going to pay any additional cost when it comes to the checkout. So free delivery and having that in the listing is important, because then the consumer can understand that there's no additional cost, and it influences their decision to click on the ad. Okay. And they can even add in here free delivery by X date. So it could be free delivery by the 8th of March and something like that, which they can improve upon. Now, what I really like about this listing is that they've used different product imagery to all of their competitors. So they've investigated the competitors here, seen that some of the competitors are using white background, some of the competitors are using lifestyle images, and some of the competitors are using kind of studio style images. But what they've done is focused on what their customer cares about. What does their customer care about? When you're buying a white silk pillowcase, all you care about is how silky the pillowcase is. Everyone wants a silky pillowcase. So what they've done is used imagery that accentuates the silkiness of the product that they sell. So you can't even tell this is a pillow, but you understand because you're searching in white silk pillowcase and you've got that in the product title that is a white silk pillowcase. But this is the only image where I get a clear picture on how silky that pillowcase is. And so that stood out to me immediately, and that's the reason I clicked on the ad. And this is far more expensive than any other option here outside of this one. And so therefore, it kind of proves the theory that it does not matter what your pricing is. You need to ensure that you're just trying to differentiate from competitors. And differentiation is key to being able to sell more expensive products. And so the biggest reason that people don't do this is because it's very boring. Optimizing your feed is quite a boring and monotonous task, and it requires a high level of detail. And that's the reason that people don't do this or don't focus a heavy amount of attention to it, is because it's boring. No one wants to do it. No one wants to go through the weeds and figure out what their competitors are doing and try different images and try different product titles and duplicate their SKUs and put different sorts of attributes like free delivery by X date in there. No one wants to do it, right? And that's the reason that people that do it have a far bigger advantage over the people that don't do it. Now, the hidden opportunity here, I'm just going to briefly talk about spending more top of funnel, because I see this in probably 70% of accounts that we look at, is that people, particularly people, this is relevant for if you're spending considerably on Meta and you have a high amount of creative volume or good creatives on Meta, you can start spending on the exact same creatives for YouTube and demand gen ads. And that's both static and video creatives. Typically, you won't see the direct attribution on those particular campaigns, but what you'll see is your bottom of funnel campaigns or middle of funnel campaigns like your shopping, your search, your performance max, those will start to convert a hell of a lot better because you're bringing more people down the funnel. Typically what happens with Google is people's ceiling is very much in direct correlation to how many people are searching for their product on any given day. And you will hit a certain cap on how far you can scale Google if you're just using shopping and search campaigns based on how many people are searching on any given day. But if you start to bring more people down the funnel using YouTube and demand gen ads, and you have some creatives there that you're using on Meta and you're effectively running Meta quite well, you can start to spend that on YouTube and demand gen ads. This is something that a lot of people still aren't taking advantage of in majority of accounts that we look at. People are just spending on shopping and search campaigns, PMAX campaigns, and it's a huge opportunity for people that do have creatives, both static and video creatives, to start using them on YouTube and demand gen ads and start bringing people down the funnel, because it's a huge opportunity cost that I see inside a lot of accounts. Now, majority of people will have these issues inside their account. And as I said, at higher spend levels, these issues will be amplified by 2x, 5x, 10x. And by just identifying and diagnosing some of these issues, you will be able to cut wasted ad spend, but you'll also be able to identify your winners and scale them as far as possible. If you do have any questions on these particular issues, feel free to message me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I will reply to you to answer any of this. If you do want access to this particular document, it will be available in the description to this video below. But I hope you enjoyed the video. There's plenty of more other videos on my channel that talk in depth about some of the topics that I kind of brushed over here. And I'll see you in the next one.